The reward: the war was over. After 10 long years of fighting, the humans had won. The enemy, an alien race called the Dravari, was defeated. Cities burned. Skies were quiet. The galaxy had finally taken a breath. Captain Ethan Ward stood on the grand stage of Victory Hall, Earth's most powerful leaders seated before him. The crowd cheered. Flags waved. Cameras flashed. He had done the impossible. He led the final strike. He ended the war. A voice echoed through the hall. Today, we honor a hero. For his unmatched bravery and loyalty to mankind, we offer him the highest reward. Ethan raised an eyebrow. He hadn't expected anything. Medals, maybe. But then, 2 soldiers walked forward. Between them was a chained figure. She was tall, slim, and clearly not human. Her skin was pale silver, glowing slightly. Her hair flowed like liquid metal. Her eyes, deep violet, full of fear. She looked no older than 20 in human years. The soldiers shoved her forward. Her wrists were bound in glowing cuffs. Her feet dragged on the floor. She didn't speak. The announcer smiled. A Dravari female, taken during the final battle. She is yours now, Captain. A war prize. The crowd cheered again, but Ethan didn't smile. He looked at the girl. No, the woman. Her eyes met his. There was no anger, no hate. Only confusion and sadness. He turned to the soldiers. Take off the chains. Double quotes. Silence. The Prime Commander stood up. Captain Ward, this is a gift. A rare one. You may do with her as you please. Ethan's voice was calm. Take off the chains. The soldiers hesitated, then obeyed. The cuffs clicked open and fell to the ground. The alien woman rubbed her wrists. She looked around, unsure what to do. Ethan stepped closer to her. He spoke softly. You're free now. She looked at him surprised. Free, he nodded. Yes, my name is Ethan. She didn't respond at first. She just stared at him, not understanding. Then she whispered, Lyra. The room was still. The leaders on the stage whispered among themselves. The crowd didn't cheer anymore. The Prime Commander spoke again, his voice cold. What do you think you're doing, Ward? I don't take slaves, Ethan said simply. She's not a prize. She's a person. This could be seen as treason, the commander warned. Ethan didn't flinch. He looked at Lyra. Come with me. She followed him. Slowly, carefully, like she was walking in a dream. Together, they walked off the stage. The cameras kept recording. The silence in the hall said everything. Outside the hall, the air was cooler. The stars above Earth blinked like tiny fires in the night sky. Ethan led Lyra to his ship, a small but strong cruiser called the Nova Hawk. The guards at the gate looked confused but didn't stop him. Inside the ship, he showed her a room. It was small, but warm. A bed, a light, a screen, and fresh clothes. You can stay here. No one will hurt you, he said. She sat on the bed, unsure. Why are you helping me? Because you don't deserve to be treated like an object. Her eyes filled with water. She had seen humans only as monsters, killers, in armor. Faces hidden behind helmets. Ships that dropped fire from the sky. But this one had given her a name back. She touched her wrist where the cuffs had been. I thought I would die today. Ethan sat on a chair across from her. You're not going to die. Not while you're with me. There was a long silence. Then she asked, you freed me. What does that make me now? Ethan smiled a little. That makes you Lyra. Just Lyra. A small smile touched her lips. Maybe the first in many years. But outside, things were not calm. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. A human freed a Dravari, called her his equal. His wife back in Earth's control room. Red alerts blinked. The system labeled Ethan Ward as a possible threat. Enemies were watching. Allies were doubting. And Lyra, no one knew what she truly was, or what she could become. But for now, in the silence of the ship, 2 former enemies sat in peace, and the real story had just begun. The ship floated in deep space, far from Earth, far from war, and far from eyes that watched too closely. Inside the quiet halls of the Nova Hawk, the hum of the engine was the only sound. Lights were dim. Shadows moved slowly across metal walls. Ethan stood in the control room, staring at a small monitor. It showed a live feed from one of the passenger rooms. Lyra sat on the bed, motionless, staring at the floor. It had been hours since they left Earth. She hadn't spoken again. Ethan sighed and walked toward her room. He paused at the door, then knocked gently. No answer. He tapped the panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Lyra looked up, startled, like a deer caught in headlights. She quickly stood up, her hands behind her back, body stiff. You don't have to do that, Ethan said quietly. She didn't move. You're not in prison, he added. Lyra's voice came low, unsure. Then what am I? You're my guest. She tilted her head. No one keeps guests in cages. Ethan looked confused. You're not in a cage. She raised her hand. This ship. Locked door. No stars outside. No planet. No sky. That's a cage to me. Ethan stepped in and sat down on the small metal chair. You're right, he said. But this cage is keeping you safe, for now. Lyra sat too, but kept her eyes on the floor. Safe from who? Everyone, he replied. People are scared of you. They think you're dangerous. She said nothing. Are you? Ethan asked. She raised her head slowly. Their eyes met. Yes, she said simply. The room went silent. Ethan didn't flinch. She spoke again. Not because I want to be, but because of what I am. Ethan leaned forward. Then tell me, what are you? Lyra stood up and walked to the small window. Stars blinked far away. Her reflection in the glass looked less human and more alien under the soft light. I am Dravari, she said. But I was not born to kill. I was born to carry something. Inside me, a kind of energy. My people call it Viren. Your scientists called it a weapon. Ethan frowned. That's why they gave you to me. She nodded. I'm not just a prisoner of war. I'm a warning. Ethan stood too, crossing his arms. You don't seem like a weapon. She smiled faintly. That's the trick. Just then, the lights flickered. A strange hum filled the room. The ship trembled for a second. Ethan touched the wall. What was that? Lyra looked down at her hands. A soft glow faded from her skin. Sometimes it leaks, she whispered. When I feel too much. Ethan stared at her, now fully understanding. Your emotions. Control it. She nodded. Fear, anger, sadness, all of it. Ethan walked to the door. You need rest. I'll figure out a way to keep us off the radar. Before he left, she called out. Wait. He turned. Lyra hesitated, then asked, why did you free me? Ethan looked at her for a moment. Because I was tired of being a soldier. She didn't understand. He continued, for 10 years, I followed orders. Kill, destroy, obey. I looked at enemies through a scope, not people. Just targets. He pointed to her. But when I saw you up there, chained, broken, eyes full of fear, I didn't see an enemy. I saw a person. Lyra's voice was soft. No one's ever seen me like that. Well, Ethan said, walking out, maybe it's time someone did. Later that night, alarms rang. Ethan rushed to the cockpit. A message was blinking on the screen. Incoming transmission, unmarked vessel, APPORACH. Q&G activated the external cameras. A small, dark ship was trailing them from a distance. Do you recognize it? He asked Lyra, who had entered silently. Behind him, she stepped closer to the screen. Her face went pale. That ship. It's Dravari. Ethan's eyes narrowed. I thought your people were gone. They are, she said, voice trembling. Except one, who she looked at him, fear in her glowing eyes. My brother. Ethan stared at the screen again. Well, he's found you. Lyra nodded. And he's not coming to save me. The dark ship drew closer. On the screen, it looked like a shadow crawling through space. No lights, no signals. Silent, but fast. Ethan sat in the pilot seat, eyes locked on the monitor. Lyra stood behind him, her arms crossed tightly. His ship, she said. I know it. Ethan didn't look at her. Your brother. She nodded slowly. His name is Kale. He was a guardian before the war. Stronger than me. Why would he follow you now? To finish what the humans started, she whispered. He thinks I've betrayed our people. Ethan turned to face her. Did you? She stared at him, hurt in her eyes. I didn't choose this. You freed me. And now I've painted a target on your back. Ethan muttered. Suddenly. Alarms blared. Lock-on detected incoming PROJC. Fingers flew across the controls. Hold on. The ship jolted as he rolled it sideways. A flash of blue fire streaked past the hull. Another shot came. This time, it hit. The ship rocked violently. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Lights flickered. Shields down to 32%. The computer voice said. Ethan cursed under his breath. We can't outrun him. He's faster. Lyra's voice was calm. Then we don't run. He looked at her like she was mad. What are you saying? She took a breath. Let me out. No. You said I'm not a prisoner. You're not, but I'm not letting you walk into a death trap. She stepped closer. Kale will not stop. He will hunt us across the galaxy unless I show him what I've become. And what is that? Ethan asked. Lyra looked down at her hands. They began to glow, soft silver light rising from her skin. Her eyes shined like stars. I'm not just a girl, she said. I'm Virenborn. Ethan had seen energy weapons, bombs, plasma grenades, but this was different. Lyra wasn't holding power. She was power. Minutes later, the docking bay opened. Kale's ship latched on, pulling the Nova Hawk into a forced connection. Ethan stood at the bay entrance with a blaster in hand. Lyra stood beside him, calm. The door opened with a hiss. Smoke filled the hallway. A tall figure stepped through. Kale. He looked like Lyra but darker. His skin was charcoal, silver, and his eyes glowed red instead of violet. His armor pulsed with dark energy. He said, voice deep and cold, "You shame us." "I live," she replied. "That is no shame." Kale's gaze shifted to Ethan. "A human pet. This is your new tribe." Ethan raised the blaster. "Say that again." Kale lifted a hand. Ethan flew backward, slammed into the wall by invisible force. Lyra gasped. "Don't hurt him," she shouted. Kale turned back to her. "You've forgotten who you are." "No," she said, stepping forward. "You have." Energy began to rise from her. Again, this time brighter. The walls shook. Kale frowned. "You can't control it. You'll destroy this ship." "Then back away," she warned. Kale charged. His hand formed a spear of black energy. He threw it toward her. Lyra lifted her palm. The spear stopped midair, melted into silver light, and vanished. Kale paused, shocked. "You've grown," he said. Lyra closed her eyes. Her feet rose slightly off the ground. Silver symbols appeared around her like floating runes. "This ship is not a battlefield," she said. "Leave." Kale raised his arms for another strike, but she moved first. A wave of light blasted from her body, slamming into him. He flew backward, through the smoke, back onto his ship. The connection door shut. The docking lock released. Ethan, bruised but awake, crawled back to his feet. "Remind me not to make you mad." Lyra helped him stand. "You okay?" she asked. "I've had worse. Once got stabbed by a three-legged dog on Mars." Lyra gave him a puzzled look. "It's a long story," he added. The ship's monitor beeped. Kale's ship was moving away slowly. "He's not gone forever," Ethan said. "No," Lyra replied. "But now he knows. I'm not helpless anymore." Ethan sat down, breathing heavily. "So, what now?" She looked at him with a quiet smile. "Now, I learn who I am. Not a weapon, not a slave, just me." Ethan nodded. "We'll figure it out together." Outside, space was silent again. But inside the Nova Hawk, something had changed. Lyra had taken the first step toward becoming something more. Not a prisoner, not a weapon, a protector. The stars were no longer beautiful. They were eyes now, watching, waiting. Ethan stared out the cockpit window of the Nova Hawk, hands tight on the controls. Every small glimmer in space felt like a trap. Every silent signal felt like a whisper from the past. Behind him, Lyra sat in the co-pilot seat, eyes closed, hands resting on her lap. She hadn't said a word since her brother Kale left. Ethan finally broke the silence. "He'll be back." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes. And when he comes, he won't be alone." Again, she nodded. "They always return in numbers." Ethan sighed. "Then we need help." He adjusted the ship's course and activated the stealth drive. "There's only one place we can go." Lyra opened her eyes. "Where?" Ethan hesitated. "Black Echo Station." Her brow furrowed. "That's a criminal hub." "Exactly," Ethan said. "The only place in the galaxy where nobody asks questions. And everyone hides something." 3 hours later, the Nova Hawk docked at a massive floating structure. It was half spaceport, half scrap heap. Broken satellites, old warships, and illegal cargo hung around it like a metal cloud. As Ethan and Lyra stepped off the ship, the air felt thick, dirty, recycled, filled with 100 languages and 1,000 secrets. The crowds parted as they walked. Not because of Ethan, because of her. Lyra's silver skin and glowing eyes turned heads. Whispers followed them like shadows. Ethan leaned toward her. "Keep your hood up, and let me do the talking." They passed through narrow alleys lit by flickering neon. Creatures of every kind sold weapons, cyber parts, and forbidden tech. Lizard-faced child tried to steal Ethan's sidearm. He stopped in front of a thick metal door and knocked 3 times. A voice buzzed through the speaker. "You bring death with you, Ward." "Just company," Ethan replied. The door slid open. Inside stood a tall woman with metal arms and glowing blue eyes. She wore a long black coat and had a scar that ran from her forehead to her jaw. "Ethan Ward," she said. "Still breathing, huh?" "Hello, Myra," Ethan said with a tired smile. "I need a favor." Myra looked past him at Lyra. "That's not a favor. That's a problem. She's with me. She's a bounty magnet. Whole galaxies looking for her. Word is, she's worth more than a warship." Lyra stepped forward, hood still low. "And what am I to you?" "A payday." Myra grinned. "I like her." In a quiet room lit by a single red light, the three sat at a rusted table. Ethan explained everything. Kale, the powers, the attack. Myra listened, arms crossed. Finally, she said, "I know someone who can help. He forges ID chips, reroutes bounty, signals erases names from systems. But he won't like meeting her." "Why not?" Ethan asked. "Because she glows," Myra said. "And he hates glowing things." Lyra smiled faintly. Just then, Myra's communicator buzzed. She answered, listened, then stood up fast. "We've got a problem." "What kind?" Ethan asked. "The kind with guns." On a nearby monitor, a group of armored hunters moved through the station, 6 in total. Faces covered. Heavy gear. "They're not local," Myra said. "Too clean." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Military." "Worse," Myra said. "Private. Paid. Silent." Lyra stood. "They're here for me." Myra pulled out 2 blasters. "Then we move. Now." The group ran through the lower levels of the station. The lights dimmed as the power grid shifted. Someone was tracking them, cutting paths, hurting them. "We're being pushed toward the engine bay," Ethan said. "It's a trap," Lyra replied. Myra stopped at a junction. "Then let's bring it first." She handed Lyra a small orb. "Flash pulse. Blind M for 10 seconds. Use it when they're close." Lyra nodded. Dot. A moment later, the hunters appeared. Silent, fast, trained, blasters, fired. Myra returned shots. Ethan dove behind crates, shooting from cover. One hunter reached, Lyra blade drawn. She didn't run. She raised her hand. The air shimmered. The blade stopped mid-air. Frozen with a flick of her wrist, the hunter was thrown against the wall, like a rag doll. The others hesitated. Then dash flash. The orb exploded with light. Screams echoed. Lyra stepped forward, eyes glowing. Her body hovered slightly above the ground. "I don't want to hurt you," she said. When Hunter fired, the bullet melted before it touched her. Another tried to run. Lyra raised her hand, and the metal around them bent, crushing the door shut. Myra stared. "Okay. That's new." When it was over, 6 hunters lay unconscious. Ethan stood, brushing dust off his jacket. "Still think she's just a girl?" Myra shook her head. "She's a walking event." Back aboard the Nova Hawk, Myra handed Ethan a small chip. "It's your fake ID, new names, new ship code. Won't last forever." "Long enough," Ethan said. Myra looked at Lyra. "You scared them back there. You scared me too." "I'm scared of myself sometimes," Lyra replied. "Well, don't be," Myra said. "Just aim that fear at the right people." As the ship pulled away from Black Echo Station, Lyra looked back once. She was no longer running. She was being hunted, and now, she was ready to hunt back. The stars looked calm, but Ethan knew better. Calm skies in space usually meant something terrible was coming. He stood alone in the cockpit of the Nova Hawk, watching the stars drift by. His mind was full. They had escaped Black Echo Station, but the bounty on Lyra's head had only grown louder across the galaxy. The message was everywhere now. Capture the Silver Girl. Alive. Double payment if delivered. Before week's end. He didn't know who had placed it. But he had a feeling this wasn't just about power anymore. It was about fear. Lyra sat in her small room, staring at her own reflection. Not in a mirror, she had no mirror, but in a piece of polished metal. From the ship's wall, her skin still shimmered. Her eyes still glowed. But inside, she felt more human every day. She heard the door open, and looked up. Ethan stood there, holding 2 steaming cups. "Made some tea," he said. "Well, ship tea, recycled water, and powder leaves." Lyra gave a soft smile. "Sounds delicious." They sat on the bed, cups in hand. Silence filled the room for a while. Not awkward, just quiet. Safe. Then Lyra spoke. "Do you think I'm a danger?" Ethan didn't answer right away. He sipped the tea, made a face, and set it down. Then he looked at her. "Yes." She nodded, her smile fading. "But," he continued, "you're a danger to the wrong people." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" You scare the ones who want control, who want war. You scare the ones who've lived too long in power. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. But to me, you're not a danger. You're a choice I made. Lyra turned to him. Why did you make that choice? Ethan hesitated. Because the first time I saw you, you weren't a threat. You were just someone who needed help. She stared at him. And now he said softly, you're someone I don't want to lose. The room felt heavier, warmer. Lyra placed her hand over his dot. Her skin was cool, but something passed between them. A spark, gentle and real. And then alarm triggered. Unidentified ship. Dietai side G talked and jumped up and ran to the cockpit. On the screen, a fleet approached. Not one ship. Not 2.12. Lyra followed him. Her eyes narrowed. That's not pirates. No, Ethan said. That's military. A message came through, encrypted but human. Captain Ethan Ward. Turn over the Dravari girl. You are outgunned. This is your only warning. Lyra stepped forward. They want me. They won't get you, Ethan said. You don't understand, she said quietly. If they destroy this ship, I can't stop it. My body, it reacts. If I die in fear, the power inside me will release. And it won't stop. Ethan turned to her, eyes wide. How bad? She looked away. Bad enough to crack a planet. Double quotes. Silence. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we're not fighting them. We're escaping. Lyra stepped back. No, that's not the answer anymore. She walked toward the center of the ship. Her steps slow, like she was carrying something heavy inside her. Ethan followed. What are you doing? I'm ending it. No, he snapped. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. She stopped and looked at him. You saved me when I was nothing. Now let me do something while I'm still something. He shook his head. There has to be another way. She smiled sadly. There's always another way. But sometimes, this is the right one. Outside, the fleet locked weapons. Inside, Lyra floated gently off the ground. Her body glowed brighter than ever before. She closed her eyes. And then, she spoke. Not to Ethan, not to herself, but to the ships above. A wave of thought rippled through space. Like a silent scream turned into light. The ships paused. Pilots froze. Systems glitched. She reached into their minds, not to hurt, but to show her pain, her memories, her fear, her hope. Ethan watched, stunned. It wasn't just power, it was communication, on a level no human tech could reach. Suddenly, one of the ships powered down, then another, then the rest. The lead ship sent a new message. We see her now. She is not a weapon. She is a warning. They turned and left. Lyra fell back down, gasping. Ethan caught her. Her light faded slowly, gently. Her skin dimmed to a soft glow. He held her in his arms, whispering, You did it. She smiled weakly. No more running. No more war, Ethan said. They sat on the floor, the stars outside calm again. And this time, they felt beautiful. The ship drifted quietly, far from any system, hidden in a pocket of dead space. No signals, no movement. Just silence. Secrets. Ethan stood by the window, watching the stars. But tonight, they didn't shine for him. His mind was full of questions that had no easy answers. Behind him, Lyra lay resting. Her energy had barely returned after the encounter with the human fleet. For 3 days, she had slept more than she'd spoken. And when she was awake, her eyes looked somewhere far beyond the ship into memories she hadn't shared. Not yet. A soft sound made Ethan turn. Lyra was sitting up, her silver eyes open, calm but tired. You're awake, he said, walking over. I dreamed, she whispered, but not of now. I dreamed of then. Ethan sat beside her. Tell me. Lyra took a slow breath. I was born on a city that floated in the sky. Not like your stations. It was alive. Built from energy and song. My people called it Servanor, the living heart. She paused. We were not warriors. Not at first. We were builders, singers, creators. We didn't fight. We healed. Ethan frowned. So what changed? They found us. Her voice lowered. Humans weren't the first. Long before your kind reached space, other races hunted for power. When they discovered our ability, the Virant, they called it the flame of control. To them, we were tools, weapons, living batteries. Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine. What did they do? They took some of us, studied us, broke us. My mother died that way. My brother, Kale, he changed. He believed we had to become what they feared, so we wouldn't be hunted again. He turned your people into weapons. Lyra nodded. Yes, and I became the strongest among them. A symbol. A final card. But you didn't want it, Ethan said. I wanted peace, she replied. But peace needs two hands. We only had one. There was silence between them. Then Ethan asked the question that had burned in him for weeks. Why were you captured? Lyra looked at her hands. I refused to fight. She met his eyes. They betrayed me. Not the humans. My own people. Kale ordered me to be given away to you. As a message, a trap. He knew you would show mercy. And then, I would learn to hate you. Ethan stared, stunned. So this was planned. Lyra nodded. Yes, but something failed. Ethan's voice dropped. What you? She touched his hand. You treated me like a person, not a tool. You broke their game. And now, they're afraid. A soft beep interrupted them. Ethan stood and checked the console. A small signal flashed. One word repeated again and again. Awaken. What is that? He asked. Lyra stood, her glow returning slightly. It's a call, a very old one. From my people. From the source. She moved to the screen. Her fingers danced across the console. A new map opened coordinates in deep space. Near a forgotten nebula. No one goes there, Ethan said. It's dead space. No, Lyra replied. It's hidden space. She looked at him. My people are not extinct. Some escaped the war. Some went silent. If that signal is real, they're calling me home. Ethan crossed his arms. It could be a trap. It probably is. Then why answer it? Lyra's voice was steady. Because truth doesn't wait. If I run from it, I lose everything. If I face it, maybe something can be saved. He stared at her. Coming with you, he said. I know. The Nova Hawk approached the nebula hours later. The stars here were dim, and space itself seemed to hum. As they reached the center of the coordinates, something emerged. A shape. No engines. No heat. Just mass. It looked like a massive crystal miles wide floating silently in the dark. It's not a ship, Ethan said. No, Lyra replied. It's a vault. A light blinked on the crystal. A single doorway opened. Lyra and Ethan entered. Weapons ready. Inside was quiet. Cold. Silver lights traced along the walls. Like veins. And then they saw them. Figures, 10 of them. Frozen in place. Not dead. Just asleep. Floating in midair. Eyes closed. Locked in crystal. Lyra's hand trembled. My elders, she whispered. The Council of Nor. A voice echoed around them. Not from a speaker. Not from a person. From the air itself. Viren bearer, why do you wake us? Lyra stepped forward. Because I want peace. Peace requires truth. Ethan moved beside her. Then tell us. All of it. The lights around the chamber pulsed, and slowly, the figures began to stir. Eyes opened. A new voice spoke, female. Soft but firm. You are not like the one who gave you away. Lyra shook her head. No, I'm something new. The air grew warmer. Then you are the last key. Lyra turned to Ethan. This is just the beginning. The Council of Servanor had awakened. 10 ancient minds floated in the crystal chamber. Their silver eyes watching Ethan and Lyra with quiet judgment. The air hummed with low-energy centuries of power stored in silence. Lyra stood tall, her hands by her sides, her voice steady. I have returned. Not to obey, but to speak. A pause. One elder stepped forward, robes of starlight wrapped around their glowing form. You are the Viren bearer, the chosen flame. Why do you walk? With a human. Lyra didn't hesitate. Because he saved me. Ethan stepped beside her. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Another elder spoke. Humans broke our world. Lyra's voice was soft, but strong. So did we. The council murmured. For the first time in ages, someone had spoken truth inside these walls. You would stand against your bloodline for him. Lyra turned to Ethan. Not against with. He looked at her, confused. Then she stepped closer and gently took his hand. In my people's eyes, I was made to destroy. But Ethan showed me I could choose. She faced the elders again. I choose peace. I choose future. I choose love. The air trembled. The elders began to glow. Brighter power rising. Energy building. This union is forbidden. Ethan stepped forward now. Then break your rules, or break the galaxy. They stared. One final voice, oldest of them all, spoke. From the shadows, a massive figure stepped forward, draped in dark silver armor. Kale. Her brother. He had arrived. Love, he said, his voice filled with poison. She speaks of love while forgetting her purpose. Lyra's heart stopped for a moment. You were not summoned, said one elder. Kale ignored them. He stared at Lyra. You think you've found a new path? With him, his eyes cut to Ethan. This creature, Lyra, didn't step back. Yes, with this human who gave me freedom, when my own brother gave me chains. Kale's face twisted. I gave you destiny. You gave me away. Long silence. Then Kale raised his hand. A pulse of dark energy filled the chamber. The lights dimmed. The elders gasped. Their power flickered. He's draining them, Ethan shouted. Lyra stepped forward. Kale, stop. But Kale only smiled. If you will not become the weapon, then I will. The walls cracked. Crystals shattered. The vault trembled. Ethan pulled Lyra back. We need to go. But she didn't move. No, she said. This ends here. Her skin lit up with silver flame. Her hair lifted like it was floating underwater. Her eyes glowed so bright, Ethan had to look away. Lyra floated toward her brother. You want to be the strongest, she said. Then take all of it. She opened her arms. Energy burst from her body, flowing like a river into Kale. He screamed as the power surged through him. But it was too much. The room shook violently. The ceiling cracked. Crystals exploded. Lyra, Ethan shouted. But she didn't stop. Then, with one final cry, Kale vanished into a blinding flash of white. Silence fell. The room was still. Lyra dropped to the floor. Her body dimmed, energy spent. Ethan ran to her, caught her before she hit the ground. Lyra, he whispered, holding her close. Don't leave me. Her lips moved. Not leaving, she whispered, just choosing. He pressed his forehead to hers. You said I saved you, he said, but you saved everyone. The elders slowly regained their light. They looked at the pair in silence. Then the oldest one bowed his head. You have passed the true trial, not of power, but of choice. Ethan looked at them. What now? The elders answered together. Their voices one. She is no longer the flame of war. She is the spark of peace. Lyra opened her eyes weakly. Then let us go. The crystal doors opened out back on the Nova Hawk. Ethan helped her into her seat. She was weak, but alive. The ship engines hummed, steady and calm. He sat beside her. You sure you're okay? He asked. She nodded. The energy is quiet now. It listens. Ethan looked at her with soft eyes. You're free. Lyra smiled. Truly, for the first time. He hesitated, then took a small band from his pocket. Simple, silver worn. Found this on Earth years ago, he said. Kept it, never knew why. He slid it into her palm. Now I do. Her eyes shimmered not from power, but from tears. She looked at him. I accept. He laughed softly. You don't even know what I'm offering. You, she said. Simply, that's enough. As the ship moved away from the ruins of Servanar, a message was sent into the stars. A Dravari chose peace. A human chose love. And the galaxy would never be the same.